Be very careful who your teacher is. A good teacher will inspire you to learn more. A bad teacher will tell you you're stupid and you should study more. An employee will always use the same words. I want a safe, secure job with a paycheck and benefits. That's not a very strong spirit. Whereas an entrepreneur will say, hey, I fell down, stand up. I brought on like friends who thought they were entrepreneurs and they're incompetent. They were terrible. And I was terrible also. The difference is when we failed in our first business, I went on. They went back to their jobs. It's a very big difference in mindset.
You wake up tomorrow morning and you're on the street and you have nothing. All you have is the knowledge and experience that you've had throughout your career. How do you build up from there?
Well, I've been there many times, so it's no big deal. You just figure out what's needed and wanted and you go do it. If I had to do it again, I'd go work for McDonald's. And the reason I go work for McDonald's, they have the best business systems in the world. How else can a company take virtually non-college educated people and build a fast food industry across the world? And they have the best system. So right inside little McDonald's, you can learn everything you need to learn about business except for the management side of it. So I just go work at McDonald's so I can learn even more. So I look at life as learning. I'm constantly learning. I spend most of my time with entrepreneurs. I don't spend my time with people who complain about the economy. So nothing would really change. I just go back to being an entrepreneur.
Let me tell you a story of a guy who had a successful restaurant, a wonderful family, wonderful life, and within 6 months lost his business, went into bankruptcy, lost his home, and his wife left him. A year, he goes through this horrible, just rock bottom, feeling very sorry for himself. But then he wakes up one morning, he takes his salsa recipe, he goes to his son's house, he creates 100 jars of salsa, he sells it door to door, he creates a subscription business. What I'd love to have you do is take this true story and analyze that. What is characteristic of this experience, and what would you say are the key things to learn from it?
Well, I use the word again, it's called spirit. It's called the entrepreneur spirit versus the employee spirit. They're very, very different. Because from the spirit goes to mindset. An employee will always use the same words. I want a safe, secure job with a paycheck and benefits. That's not a very strong spirit. Whereas an entrepreneur will say, hey, I fell down, stand up. That's all there is. And I've fallen down, it was $800,000. It's not a lot of money, but to pay it back from nothing, it required a lot of spirit. If you're an entrepreneur, you better live it. You better have a spirit that's so strong, cannot let other people's opinions and criticisms. At that point, he started to learn. He says, I learned a lot from my last business. Let me take what I learned from my last business and put it into this business.
Before somebody should jump out into an entrepreneurial world, your recommendation would be to make sure that they have a team around them.
The team is the hardest part of the game. Okay, I'm going to take on the Cleveland Cavaliers next year. Who am I going to put on my team? My brother-in-law, who's fat and ugly. You better choose your team really carefully. Or, my son needs a job. He's a drug dealer, but he played basketball in high school. And that's what entrepreneurs do. They don't choose their team with any kind of precision. Now, I made that mistake. I brought on like friends who thought they were entrepreneurs, and they're incompetent. They were terrible. And I was terrible also. The difference is when we failed in our first business, I went on. They went back to their jobs. It's a very big difference in mindset. So all I'm saying here is this: if you're going to understand this, study entrepreneurs.
What's your philosophy when it comes to human resources? How do you keep the right people?
It's the most important part of business. Number one skill of an entrepreneur is people skills and leadership skills. You've got to have that. Whether you're a team of one, you still have to deal with your customers, and they're good customers, bad customers, lawsuits, taxes, government regulations, and all this. They're all people skills. So when somebody says to me, what do I need to learn? I said, boy, you better learn how to communicate pretty quickly to people you don't like and get them on your side. How to win friends and influence people. The number one skill of an entrepreneur is people skills. And to the degree that you have poor people skills, which I do, I don't say I have good ones, but I still talk to people like I'm a Marine, and most civilians don't get along with that. So I have to learn how to not be politically correct, I would just have to be people correct. And that's not easy. So it's always personal development is what I'm saying, because the more I work on Kiyosaki, the better I am communicating out here. But if I'm my normal Marine Corps self, it doesn't work either. So I always say to people, it's your mental skills, how do you control your thoughts, and then it's physical skills. If I look like, a bag of dirt and I'm not strong, people pick up on that. Health is important and all that. And then spiritual. I don't cheat on my wife. I don't cheat on my customers. I don't cheat people. I don't cut corners. If I can't do something, I'll tell you up front. If I screw up, I'll tell you. You know what I mean? As you and I know, there's a lot of scum out there who are entrepreneurs, but they have bad personal skills. They have bad responsibility skills. They're not legal, ethical, moral, and spiritual. And I think today, the way the world's going, you better legal, ethical, moral, and spiritual.
One of the things that I've always found fascinating about your business is that you're everywhere. I pick up a magazine, there's an advertisement for Rich Dad, Poor Dad seminars. I go onto the internet, it's social. What's your philosophy when it comes to selling your product? And what does somebody growing a small business need to know?
Well, I always say the number one skill of an entrepreneur is the ability to sell or communicate. Number one, because sales equals income. So if your sales are down, your income's down. But it's not just selling your customer, you gotta sell your employees. That's really tough, And then next is selling my investors. So I'm selling investors, I'm selling employees, I'm selling customers, and I'm selling myself. I don't have the pleasure of being down. Entrepreneurs have got to be up. Because if you're down, your employees know it, your customers know it, the market knows it. So number one is sales. But when you look at the big picture, there's three things an entrepreneur must learn. Number one is PR. Under that is marketing. And what marketing does is like advertising. They want to set the customer up to get ready to buy. And the last thing is a sale. So if you've done a really good job on PR, then you've done a great job on marketing. The sale is like that. They walk in, they buy. But if you have no PR and you have no marketing, you have to pound, hard close on, well, Mr. Customer, today's changing business environment, you should buy my insurance and all. And people today hate sales pitches more than ever before. And I'll say it again, most entrepreneurs are not good at sales. They're horrible at marketing. They have no idea what it is. And they can't get any PR. And so they struggle. And again, sales equals income, so they crash.
Let's talk about the necessary education to be an entrepreneur. Now, of course, the first lesson for any entrepreneur is to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and the Cash Quadrant. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Is there a class or a topic that you would recommend every entrepreneur take in order to be proficient in what?
My attitude is this: if you're going to be a real entrepreneur, you have to be a lifelong learner. I am studying, learning constantly. I never stop. And that's my competitive advantage. But also my core advisor team, we never stop together. I have my accountants, my attorneys, my bankers and all that, we study together. We don't play golf, we don't drink beer, we study. Because study is the way you win. But you have to know what you're studying, because what you put in here, garbage in, garbage out, right? So as an entrepreneur, be very careful who your teacher is, because they can either kill your spirit or increase your spirit. A good teacher will inspire you to learn more. A bad teacher will tell you you're stupid and you should study more.